Hello everybody, today we're going to be taking a look at this Major Lighting Incorporated 100 watt high pressure sodium floodlight. Picked this up the other day at the Restore for $7.50 as you can see, and it's in a little bit of rough shape, but I don't see any reason why we can't restore it and use it again. So let's take a quick look around. Of course, here on the front you can see the bulb inside, and there's something wrong with the bulb. Maybe you can't see it at this angle, but you'll see it here in a little bit. We have the surround for the glass, but there's something interesting about this surround. It is plastic, it's not metal. I thought that was quite interesting that they didn't use metal, especially for a outdoor fixture like this. Now, Lights of America, they most certainly used plastic for a lot, pretty much all of their fixtures. But I thought it was interesting to see here. Now, as you can see, it has cracked here in the one corner, and that's a problem that we will fix while we restore it here. So, that's the front of it. If we look around the bottom, of course, we have the little mount here that goes into a standard outdoor electrical box. You can angle it with the very rusty bolt. I'm sure this little knockout here was for a photocell if you so desire. But it's a pretty small fixture, to be honest. It's not very big at all. I mean, here's my hand on the outside of it. It's definitely a nice, small, compact fixture. And maybe now at this angle you can see the problem with the bulb there. That arc tube is no longer connected, is it? Interesting. So you can also see we just have the ballast wires coming directly out here, 120 volt and common, of course a ground. But that's really about it for the outside of the fixture. There's not much to see there. So let's flip it back around. So we're looking at the top here again. And to open it up, you just push in these two clips and it swings upwards. Now, this may come off. I haven't looked too much into how. Looks like there's little clips here again. See these little clips? I wonder if you push those in, if you're able to take off the, yep, there's one side, and there's the other. So there's the plastic and glass front. Definitely needs some restoration there. And inside, again, very simple. We have the bulb here, which obviously we can't use anymore because the welding of the arc tube at the top is totally no longer existent. In fact, it was in better condition, but I ended up doing this to it to see if I could get it to touch the other side, and yeah, that didn't work. It just made it worse. So this is the original bulb, I assume, because it says I 100 watt on it. It looks like a Phillips type etch. Could be wrong though, but maybe they made it for I, or they have a very similar, manufacturing process. It does look like it has a decent amount of hours on it anyway. So I have a couple bulbs that came from some other fixtures we can put in here and use. So that's no big deal. We'll just set that aside. And inside we have the sticker for the fixture itself. We can see it's a catalog number EF 100 watt high pressure sodium, 120 volt, 2.10 amps, 60 hertz, suitable for wet locations. Of course, relamp with medium base S54 100 watt high pressure sodium lamp only. Aim horizontal or below, so they don't want you aiming it directly up like this. It's not really designed for water to be hitting it directly on the front. Major Lighting Incorporated. Let's see, Meadowlands, Pennsylvania. And the UL sticker is very much degraded. So is the main sticker here, just from heat over time. But we have a very simple reflective material going on in here with all the little bumps. You see that pretty common in these older high pressure sodium fixtures, metal halide, especially halogen. Seeing this, excuse me for that. Seeing this type of metal for the reflector, it's probably super simple to produce because there's nothing really particular about making it just right. So let's go ahead and take out these two screws here. Okay, so now all we have to do is pull the reflector up, and we'll set that aside. Inside, it's incredibly simple, and you might say too simple. Where in the world is the igniter? Well, this is one of those interesting ballasts where the igniter is integrated into the ballast itself. It's right here on the side. So it's even simpler in here than normal. Of course, we have our medium base pulse rated socket and our advanced ballast with the integrated igniter all in here. So if the igniter goes bad, well, the whole ballast needs to be replaced. So not exactly the best for serviceability, but all these ballasts that I've had that have an integrated igniter, I haven't really had any of them go bad. However, I haven't had any of them in permanent use to really put them to the test. So let's take this bracket off and get a better look at the ballast tag there. There's our mounting bracket, very simple. And of course, the ballast itself. And it looks like it's just going to be easier to let it stay in there. So, it looks like we have a date there, July 28th of 1995. Wow, okay. So, of course, integrated igniter reactor ballast for a 100 watt S54 lamp. The one thing that made this fixture quite interesting to me was the fact that it was 100 watt high pressure sodium. Usually these very simple floodlights are 70 watt. A lot of floodlights, for whatever reason, or consumer grade fixtures are 70 watt high pressure sodium. Just super common. So it was interesting to see a 100 watt version. So of course, that is the label. You can add a capacitor if you so desire. But that date, that's pretty cool, 1995. Do have a number there on the side. And of course the wires going out the back there, it's not really the easiest thing to get it out. But we probably want to, actually, because we'll want to clean inside the fixture. And it looks like the easiest way to get the socket out is another screw right over here. At least all the screws are the same type, that's nice. Okay, now that we have that all out, that's nice to use some type of brass screws there. Look, they're both different. One has a flat and one is kind of curved on the top. Interesting. Okay, also note the little tiny made in China sticker that you see on like super cheap knickknacks and stuff. That's funny. So on the back here, to get these wires through, the easiest way would be to take off this here. Now we'll try a flathead screwdriver first because that's the easiest thing for me to grab at the moment. And once we loosen that up, thankfully it wasn't rusted closed or anything. There's our bolt. That rust will come off there easily enough. Now, we just need to pull this off. There it goes. And we'll feed the wires through here. There we go. And we have an O-ring here that we definitely want to keep. So we'll set that aside. And then all the wires will just pull on through there. So let's do that. And there we go. There's the insides of the fixture. Boy, is that simple. I like it. Okay, I'm going to set that aside for right now. And we're going to take a look at what is left in here. Well, we have the copper wire for, grounding. That's fine. But we have a lot of dirt and stuff in there. So I'm going to go ahead and use a brush and vacuum and see how well I can clean this up. There, okay, so the inside's all cleaned up. And I also took out the little gasket that sat around here and cleaned that as well. So much better. Now I just need to clean the outsides a little bit. So I'll find some cleaner and do that. Got the outsides all wiped down. Looks much better. Of course, it still has its wear marks. It's just part of its history. So that's no big deal. But at least the outside housing is all cleaned up. I'm going to set that aside and move on to the next part. So we have the front glass here, and obviously it's a plastic surround. And I suppose since at the moment it is broken, let's go ahead and use that to remove the glass easier than however else you would do it, I suppose by bending it somehow. Now, we need to focus attention on this naturally and figure out what we want to do up here. Now, the first thing that comes to my mind is maybe putting a little piece of metal or something in the corner, like a little tiny wire, just to help strengthen it. And then put some epoxy or something there, just a little bit, to get it to, you know, hold together. So I think that's what we'll do. And of course, we need to clean up all the, you know, dirt and grime around the outside of the fixture, or the lens assembly, even though it's not really much of a lens, the glass front here. Get the sticker off and clean all that up. Got a couple other pieces here to clean up, so we're going to go ahead and do that. While the epoxy is drying on the front bezel piece, let's go ahead and reassemble everything inside. So, we need to get our ballast in here. Of course, that's just sitting over to the side here. And it looks like that needs a quick brush off. Okay, so let's set that back in here. There we go. And, you know, to hold on the socket, we had one screw. And again, the nice thing here is that all these screws are exactly the same. So there's no worry in getting any of them wrong. And then the ballast, of course, has its bracket here. And those screws are right here, so we'll put those in. There's only like what, 5 or 6, 7 screws in this fixture. 5 of these, 1 ground screw and 1 to hold the mount on there. Very simple. There we go. Okay, so now we need to feed these wires back through, and let's just get rid of these ends here that aren't too nice looking. There we go. Now we'll feed them back through where the ground wire is down here. There we go. It seems like it wants to sit like that with the wires, so we'll just let that be. Okay, now we have our mount, obviously, and obviously the wires are going to go through here, so let's feed them through. And we got our O-ring back on there. So now we need our bolt. I cleaned up the rust the best I could. Of course, it still has some on it. That's whatever. Okay, it goes this way. And the wires will just have bend around it like that, because then it won't rub the other way, and that provides it a nice surface that it won't, I guess, hurt itself on. Just hand tightening all this at the moment. We don't need it to be super perfect for right now. I'm sure the wires are coming out a little further before, but that's no big deal. At least if something happens, there's plenty in here to splice some new wires on. Okay, so we're pretty much all together. Of course, we can put the reflector back in here. There we go. I just love how simple this fixture is. Okay, now we have our little gasket here, and boy, I can't really tell. I mean, is it flat in there? Did they have the curved side up? Did they have it down? No, the flat side seems to make more sense. And I'm sure they had the seam down at the bottom. Thankfully it's not glued on or anything, so it's easy to, you know, take in and out. That's not bad at all. A little bit of staining there, but hey, that's not a problem. I'm just going to bend this bulb socket a little bit up more. It looks like it was bent down a little bit. Maybe whenever it took a shock, and that's when the arc tube broke off. So let me take a look at the epoxy over here. It's still drying, and it's probably going to take a while to do so. So I need to locate a bulb and a box to mount this on. So I'm going to take some time to do that, and of course for the front bezel to dry. After taking way too long to find a replacement bulb for this fixture, because I knew I had one somewhere, but I just couldn't locate it, I finally did. So that part's done. But we have the cover here, our little gasket, and an electrical box to match. These all came off of another fixture that, what did I do with it? I think it got parted out. It was mercury vapor, and it got made into a different fixture. But just some parts I had laying around here. These will be perfect. Now, of course, we need a cord. Obtained a cord. Cleaned it up. Here we go. So, first, obviously, we have all this put together, but we still have the epoxy drying. It is solid now, but the longer you wait, the better, just to be safe about it. So, this goes on first. And it just screws on here. Now, one thing that's missing is some type of a locking nut washer thing. So let me grab one here. I have a whole bunch of different ones. I'm trying to think of what way I'd want to do it. Now one side here, is made to dig into the fixture a little bit. But sometimes if you just tighten it up, you're fine without worrying about that. But also if you do that, it can grind up the front there, but that's probably what you're supposed to do, so we'll just do that anyway. And it should screw on here. It shouldn't be any different in size. It should be the right size. Unless the threads are all messed up, that'd be annoying. Ah, there we go. Now, we can put on our plate. Okay, gasket is always a good thing to remember, because I tell you what, sometimes I forget it. So let's put it on there now before we forget. And of course we have our box. Now, some of these are in and some aren't. We just need the one. Well, actually, the more I think about this, I think this was used. Yeah, I picked it up for $1. But I think the plate and everything, that's from another fixture. So let me put this together. Just got to tighten up these covers, because we're just gonna, use one of them. There we go. And of course we need a restraint here for the other side. Now, if it's mounted outside, you want to use a different one than what I'm going to use, but I'm just going to use one of these standard clamp ones, if I can get one out of here. And we'll take off that little thing again. That goes right in here. Oops, it's cross-threading, don't do that. There we go. I wish these would face a different direction, and you can try to do that by putting it in a different spot. And the reason I didn't like that spot is because the screws point this way, so if you want it flat against the wall, once you tighten it up, it's pretty useless. That's better, so we'll use that one instead of this one. So we'll cover this one back up. You know, when you're at the Restore, you know, sometimes I just look around at the lights. That's all I want to look at. But, you know, pop into some of the other sections too. You never know what you'll find, you know, especially in the electrical. You find some boxes like this. And, hey, for $1, why not pick it up versus, you know, 5 or 6 at Home Depot. Okay, so our wire is going to go through here. And I'm just going to feed a bunch of it through just so we have plenty to work with at the moment. There we go. So now we need to strip these wires. So let's go ahead and do that. We have the common here. I probably used the wrong one. Let's try this again. There we go. That was much better result. That's what I get for assuming what I'm looking at. And of course, our cord here. We want to cut down these ribs here. And then I usually take one little strand, kind of like a banana, and just peel it a little bit. That's good enough. Just peel this down as far as you can, as far as it'll go, and it should just break off. If not, just come along and cut off that insulation. We don't need it. That's just part of how the wire is made. And of course we have our ground. The flat side is our positive, and the ribbed side is our neutral. So let's go ahead and take care of that. Looks like we cut off a little bit of the wires there. That's just part of the problem with these. You can't really, the insulation, it's kind of hard to get it centered just right. And of course we have our ground here. We'll cut off a generous amount of that because that's going to go not only on here, but we have a ground screw in our electrical box as well. So we'll figure out how I want to do that. The way that I'd like to is to put them both around that screw, but again, we'll see what we can do. Okay, so now that we have all this here, we need some wire nuts. Okay, got to make sure we have the gasket on, because like I say, I have forgotten it before. Okay, our flat side of the wire is our positive, and that's going to go to the 120 volt right here. So just bring those two together and line them up and get them twisted here. Now the one is a little longer than the other, and with the stranded wire, I don't really want that. So I'm gonna trim it off with something, just so that they both bite at the top of the wire nut. Okay, a little bit of a tug. And once you see your wire starting to twist here at the bottom, you're good. Okay, next we have the ribbed side of the wire. There's these little bumps on the outside. That is our neutral. So again, bring those two together here and twist them. And yet again, I ended up doing one a little longer than the other. And this is probably just me being super picky about it, but it's just how I like it there. Put our wire nut on. Oops. Well, that didn't work, now did it? Okay. So, you know, I've had this happen so many times before. It's just really annoying. Let's see what we end up with here. Now, see, that one got bit off a bit too much for whatever reason. So let's get a little bit more there. That wire nut is useless now. It has stuff stuck on the top of it. Let's grab another one. In fact, let me see here if I have one that's slightly smaller in the inside, because that happens when you have one that's too big. That feels much better. You can just feel it too, you know. Okay, a little tug. We're all good. Now we need to tackle the grounding situation. So, I don't know how I'm going to do this, to be honest, but I feel somehow I'm going to twist these together, which doesn't sound like the easiest thing that we're going to do today. And we're going to loop them around the little screw in here, if it'll let us. That's probably going to be kind of hard to do. So let me loosen up these screws here, which will allow us to have a little bit more play in the wire, because it wasn't open that wide to begin with. And that'll allow us to bring this closer. Now, we want to loosen this here. Now, sometimes this isn't even installed, the screw that is. So you might need to install it yourself on the box. It might just come in a little baggie. And we're going to loop it around there. And you want it looped around the way that the screw is going to tighten down, so that it sucks it in there. And get that nice and snug. There we go. Now, the outside there doesn't look too pretty, but hey, we're grounded. Okay, wonderful. Now we need the screws to put all this together, and I have them here. I just need to find them in my mess of screws, because I'm sure they got put back in here by accident when I was just cleaning everything up. Here's one of them. They're just these little flatheads. Now, I believe your cover would come with this, but if your cover didn't, that's the kind of screw you're looking for. And there's the other one. So that's wonderful. I really need to sort those screws based on if they're for electrical stuff or not. That would be helpful. Okay, so let's think about this. There's the bottom of the fixture, or where it's going to aim naturally. And I like to use these little lobes here for hanging it on a hook outside. Super easy to put up, super easy to take down. So, being like that, this would be the top because we want the wire to be down. And so let's just twist that here a little bit. We just need to line everything up inside of the box, like so. And now the difficult part comes of getting all this lined up. So we have our screws here. We put one through, and see all these wires. This is the annoying part. They all want to go places that you don't want them to go. So let's get one of them started into its hole here. Okay, and then see, let's loosen that up a little bit so we can angle it back this way. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Take our screw, put it on through, get it lined up. We'll just get it started. Now they're both started. Now the point here is to make sure that your gasket is even all the way around. See, it's not right here. It got pushed in somehow. Probably need a smaller screwdriver for this. Something's caught on it. Okay, well, let's see what's caught on it, I guess. So let's turn it back over. Let's take the screw out. Is there? Oh, okay, it was just folded down. So let's put our screw back in. And again, just look around, make sure our seal is good. Looks like it. Okay, now that we're sure about that, we can tighten this down. And it just needs to be snug. It doesn't need to be overly tightened. Wonderful. Hey, we got it wired up. Now that that is done, we know how much wire it wants inside and out here. So wherever this is sitting, it's obviously not being strained at the moment. So let's just tighten this up while we are at it. And again, we don't need this to be overly tight. Just needs to be snug so that there's restraint on the wire. So if it does accidentally get pulled, it doesn't pull the wires inside and make any disconnects. That would not be good. Okay, wonderful. This is coming together really nice. Set that down, and our gasket is coming out here. Okay, so let's take a look at our bulb. That's a nice bulb, isn't it? Nice and broken. Okay, so here's our new one. It's not even new, it's used. This bulb actually ran on a 70 watt high pressure sodium ballast for its life until I scrapped the fixture. I picked up 2 Rude Lighting wall packs, which there'll be a video of that coming soon if I haven't done so already. And they had these in them even though they're 70 watt ballasts. No idea why, just somebody did that. I wrote on the bottom here 70 watt. It says Alto. The reason I did that is the etch is on here, but it is so faint that you cannot really see it anymore. Let's see, you can see Phillips there. It's kind of right there. Phillips, you can faintly make out 100 watt. I picked up 2 of the fixtures. This is one of them. This one has the worst etch on it. But if we take a quick look at the comparison of the supports inside, we can see how the eye lighting one here does look very much like the Phillips branded bulb. Now sure, the etch is slightly different than this one, but this is like, I do believe, the older Phillips etch, but the construction is still very much the same. Okay, so we're going to set that bulb aside, and this being our new one, you know what, I'm just going to take a piece of paper towel here and wipe it off. I've never really cleaned it. That was that was cleaned, isn't that something? Okay, so we'll put it in here. There we go, not too tight. And let me take a look at how this is doing. So we put the epoxy on here. In fact, I just put 2 little dabs and mixed it up right in the spot there. And I think we're doing good. It's not falling apart. Of course, it's still drying. Still a little tacky. So I really want to wait until that gets, you know, sets, which I believe takes about an hour to set fully. So I guess we will wait for that to set, and then we will come back, assemble the front, and turn it on. So I've let the epoxy sit for even longer, and I have the glass put back in here, and you can see it's still drying a little bit because it's now adhering to the glass, and that's fine because, you know, that'll give it some more, you know, rigidity there, having it something else that it'll glue itself to. So we need to get this bottom clipped back in here, and I don't think this will be too hard to do. Just gotta put those clips back in, and we'll fold it on down. Now the hard part here is that this is going to put a lot of force on this joint that we just fixed. So I really hope we're okay here and that it doesn't break apart because it is still kind of drying. It's really hard to get these clips in. Now this one I'm not going to clip down all the way. I'm going to let it be, but this side I'm going to, you know, just so we have something that is on all the way. Because obviously this one is still drying. I don't want to put too much tension on it at the moment. Okay, there's our fixture all put together. So let's hang it up somewhere and turn it on. So it's temporarily mounted up here. Let's go ahead and get it turning on. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Very nice. I'm sure this bulb is happy to be running on an appropriate 100 watt ballast versus a 70 watt one. And it obviously is still working fine. So let me focus in on the arc tube here and we'll let it warm up. Okay, so I'm sure we're at full brightness now. Let's see how well it's lighting everything up. I think it's doing a great job. It has a very nice, even lighting. As you can see, there's not really any areas that are brighter than others. You can obviously see where it cuts off here. But not bad at all. Nice, even distribution. Okay, let's watch it cool down. Nice and warm. Of course, the camera makes it look much brighter than it actually is. It's quite dim at the moment, but you get a much more interesting show on the camera, I would say. I do hope you enjoyed this video going over this major lighting, 100 watt, high pressure sodium floodlight. Pretty cool and very simple fixture. Of course, we will need to do a little bit more repair here on the corner. It's starting to come apart. I mean, it does have the pressure on it from us putting it together here to demonstrate for all of you, but that's not a big deal. Once again, I certainly hope you enjoyed this video, and also please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. And thank you very much for watching.